Hello and welcome to episode 97 of What If Civilization Started Over. Let's get into it. So last episode we saw the ending of World War Six. As we can see here, this is the world after World War Six, and we can get started. Very quickly, we can see that the square lines loses the green country and the Iberian country until they join back. Yeah. And basically the square lines has sort of become useless. Yeah. And basically, every country outside of these main European areas is going to be leaving said alliance, which is not very good for, well, many reasons. For Russia, at least, and their influence, but Russia doesn't really care too much. They just got out of a world war, and they probably don't want to manage this giant alliance. Yeah. And basically, the alliance is pushed back to here. And what color? What should I change these colors to? The lime country, there's a lot of green in Europe and a lot of green over in Africa. I'm not sure actually. I really don't know. Because there's a lot more, I'll just do this color. I think I'll change the lime country's color to maybe more like a yellowy color. I think like this color is good. I think. Let's just say that this is a good color. I'm not liking that. I think it can work. Yeah. Going over to the Americas, we can see that this Union Alliance thing is actually shrinking. Not for a bad reason, not because they left the alliance, but because if I can get to the layer, these two countries joined the South American Union, seeing that this thing might be pretty successful and hopeful for many things. And for the goal of uniting the entirety of the Americas, that's going to really help. Going down to the Congo forest fires, let's take a bit of a recap of what happened during World War Six. So basically the fires spread through all these areas and are now starting to get close to the capital of this country, and they are demolishing a huge chunk of Africa, as all these areas here of the forests are burned all the way down to the ground by these fires. And nobody's able to defend against these fires because they're so powerful. And during World War Six, while everybody was distracted, these fires just kept growing and growing and growing. And that is where we see the fires looking like now, as they look something like this. But then we see a pretty large event happening. These four southern African countries will be uniting into the Southern African Union. This union is made in order to defend against the fires and what is known as what is coming. People don't know what is coming, but people believe that just something is coming to this planet and is prepared to destroy the entirety of it. And this union, well, is mainly focused on the fires, but, well, during the assembly of this union, when this union's being assembled, it kind of gets completely isolated from the rest of, the world. As well, the fires have completely burned most of southern Africa. But this union does help a bit with fighting it back against the fires in the southern parts, actually. But over here in the Mozambique areas, it's not going very well. The good thing is Madagascar exists, and they can just survive there. If they can, that is. Yeah. Well, there hasn't been a meteor in a very long time, but that isn't. Why did I mention that? I don't know, but going over here to Indonesia, we can see that another giant union is forming. Well, Papua New Guinea is going to be uniting with every single one of these, Indonesian isles. And Papua New Guinea gets a lot bigger. Going over here to China, we can see that a few years after the war, China is going to offer to unite with this Lime country. And they are threatening invasion, and the Lime country says no. So, yeah. Wait, do I have anything on these? Yeah, I have some provinces. Oh yeah, I have provinces now. Wish I had these a while ago, but guess it's not too late. Guess guess they're pretty cool, but yeah. Let's do the Chinese invasion of the Lime Tea now. Maybe without provinces. Yeah, sure. the Chinese will be invading over into the Lime team, attempting to take out the entirety of the nation. And they want to fully annex it in order to rebirth the Chinese Empire, which is going very successfully right now, as they go ahead and take a lot of these northern parts, quickly going ahead and spearheading towards the capital. But a very impressive counteroffensive takes place, and the Lime team starts to push through its actual Chinese territory and start to push towards this area, these sort of provinces here, because these are pretty large provinces that I've drawn out. But yeah. But the Chinese spearhead is going very successfully, but in the north it's not going well. And then an idea is offered by the Diamond Coalition, like, hey, if the Lime team offers to them, hey, if you join this war, we can stop the Chinese Empire. And this is a coalition against, well, China, so they're going to say yes, as the Orange team starts their invasion of China. And very quickly, shortly afterwards, this other country here is going to be able to push back, and these northern areas of the country are fully annexed, or just captured. Yeah. As this country starts to push down, and Korea makes a very impressive naval landing over in this province, going ahead and attempting to annex it, as they will be pushing back, or just getting really close to the Chinese capital, which is right here. Yeah. And the Chinese will be forced to move some forces back, which will warrant the coalition to push back even more, especially destroying this sort of spearhead. But the Chinese will be able to fully push the Koreans out of China, and with their giant military, start to push back over here, working their way throughout the Yellow Sea. Yeah. The spearhead continues, or really an operation continues, where the Chinese push the Lime team out of the southern parts of their country and go across this giant weird line thing I made for some reason. Yeah. As the Chinese will be swarming these areas, just basically doing a big giant sweeping motion, sending a huge chunk of the military here in order to, well, like, get the Lime team out of the war. Yeah. And what they do is they will get really close to taking the capital until they eventually take the capital. And the southern parts of the Lime team will be forced to surrender over to China. Like this. Yeah. And, well, what happens is just the Lime team surrenders fully. And, well, the Chinese will be swarming the Orange country and quickly taking its capital, as they split the country in half and force the northern half to surrender. And then the southern half surrenders. The Chinese military going ahead and seeing what is happening, or just the Korean militaries, these two countries are going to decide to unite with each other in order to attempt to fight back against this giant Chinese threat. But who knows if that's going to go very well, as these guys don't really want to. Yeah. But very quickly, the Chinese will be making a stable front line on this sort of weak country, at least compared to them. And let's start pushing into the main Korean provinces. Korea, very interesting place throughout history. And it hasn't seen, like, an active amount of fighting since the Korean Wars of, like, before World War One. But the Chinese troops are going to be going ahead and entering this province, taking these few provinces here, and continuing to go down. And they will be able to almost capture this province until eventually they will split the Korean country in half. And very quickly, the Chinese will be making a huge naval landing here with millions of Chinese, like, air naval fleets going ahead and about to seize the capital. As the Chinese will be continuing to attempt to take more provinces and more area for their war score, where they will eventually be able to take the capital of the Korean nation, and officially force the Diamond Coalition to surrender, and we can look at the peace treaty of this war. It was the peace treaty of this war, as the brown Chinese country fully annexes the Lime team, the Orange team, and the Korean team, while this country is like here. Yeah. It's pretty cool to have these provinces, as they sort of act as a mark in history. Basically, this just shows what the Korean country looked like at some point in history, which is, like, before this war. Yeah. And this country here, being sort of crippled, is going to decide to delete its capital from existence. What I mean by that is that No, that. Yeah. Wait. Do it that long way? Oh, yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Wait, what is this? No, that's right. Okay. Now that we're here, we can see that this nation is also going to decide to join the Siberian nation in order to get protection against, well, look at China. Think you might not want some protection against that? Over here in the Central Asian region, or just Asia alone, we can see that all these countries here will decide to unite into one, including this tiny. Wait, what is this? Those are some weird things going on, but this is basically a new union in Asia and a new movement per se. Yeah. And then after this, these three nations here are going to be declared war upon by it. And well, these two capitals are taken within the first few weeks, and eventually the Russians would get into the war, eventually taking this capital. And China's not going to get involved because they just had a war and they don't want to be too aggressive, but these nations will basically be divided, and we can look at the peace treaty. What is the peace treaty of this war? Well, Russia takes this land, the Siberian nation takes this land, and, well, yeah. And basically, Asia has become a lot less divided, specifically East Asia. Looking at the map before, look at all these very vibrant nations in Asia. And just within the 11 minutes of this video, bam, it's already looking like this. That's something. Time to look at alliances, as the Circle Economical Alliance is going to collapse. Yep, and so is the Triangle Economical Alliance and the Right Triangle Economical Alliance. Basically, all world alliances, economical ones at least, collapse, including these ones. Yeah. Well, so when we look over in Europe, we can see something very interesting, and it's called Alex Einstein. Germany is going on an expansionist conquest, and I finally get to use these provinces. As Germany, oh, just major cities. Yeah, need to use that too. As Germany will be deciding on one day to go ahead and invade the Green Team. The Green Team was not expecting this, and in the very midst of this war, the Green Team already loses two major cities, and is on the brink of losing a third until they lose a third, and the Germans will push through, taking a fourth. This is very bad for the Green Team, but eventually they will be able to pursue and push back and taking two major cities, and even recapturing one of their own. But the German front is still pushing, as they're getting very close to taking the capital of this nation, eventually capturing these provinces, these few northern provinces. The Green Team, however, doesn't care and is going to use the new sort of war strategy of capturing cities, which is pretty interesting as they go across Europe, eventually just getting really close to capturing all this, until that doesn't work, and all these troops are forced to retreat, and they do retreat into camps. Yeah. But a new nation is going to join up in this war. Maybe not sort of like joining, but sort of like forming a coalition. The Circle Coalition against these nations. No, that's wrong. The Circle Coalition against the Germans and the aggressive expansions. Maybe they kind of got a point, but they sort of don't. This is one war. Wars happen all the time. But the Red Team declares war on Germany. But during that, the Green Team is getting destroyed as they lose another major city, and their capital province is starting to get pushed into and getting close to being encircled. But with the Red Team joining the war, the Germans weren't expecting this, so they were going to be able to take three major cities pretty quickly. And even with the help of the Green Team, capture this one. I think, that's German. Yeah. As well, this happens, and the Red Team just goes crazy into Germany, taking over all these areas. Eventually pushing back. The Red Team is a pretty strong nation, actually. And this is going very successful. And then a new opponent joins the war. The Mediterranean Union, as they go ahead and invade this nation, attempting to annex some lands. As they go ahead and quickly invade over into this region, which they do very quickly to take the whole southern region of Germany. But then, the Green Team's capital and another major city is taken. And the Green Team's capital is fully encircled. And well, this is actually where the video is going to end. And that is going to do it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed today's scenario while civilization started over. See you in the next episode where we see the continuation of this European war, and which is going to be episode 98 of the series. Second to last episode before the episode before the finale. Wixel 99? No, Wixel 98, Wixel 99, then Wixel 100. Hope you enjoyed today's video. See you in the next episode of What Civilization Started Over. Bye.